Hey, Felicity.
Hello, good morning, Emma.
Morning. How's it all going?
Good, really good, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Always think how valuable it is to have community, to have that with you, so that we've had a really valuable chat before this podcast, and it just makes all the difference in the world to bounce ideas off someone who's on the same page. So,
It does.
just
It
showing
does.
you some appreciation as ever, my darling.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. And like we say, and we've said in previous podcasts, that was the reason for creating the podcast.
Yes.
We were
Yeah.
getting so much value out of our conversations that we were having with each other.
Yes.
It was helping us stay focused in what it is that we
Mhm.
wanted to achieve in our business, in our businesses. And that was the whole point of bringing it, out to the
Yeah.
public. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool. So this week we're going to be talking about your story and
Yes.
how
Ooh.
you created the business that you've created, the highs and
Mhm.
lows, and
Mhm.
just sharing your story to inspire others that are thinking or just started up a business,
Mm.
especially at this time in the middle of the
Mhm.
pandemic, where they may be doubting themselves and struggling. Give them that inspiration to keep on going.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. And my business is, because I've been doing it for nearly 11 years now. It's gone through a number of iterations, and I started off um, coaching, and then had phenomenal women, and then I wanted that to be a bit more inclusive, so it morphed into phenomenal people, and now I've added my mediation company, On Your Mediation, to it. But how it all started was, really, I'd had quite bless their hearts, I'd had quite a challenging upbringing,
Yeah.
and really didn't have a great amount of self-esteem, and got involved in some personal development. Ended up going to a Tony Robbins event. Tony Robbins is the big American life coach guy, if people don't know him. When
Yeah.
I broke up with my husband, because I was just like, oh my God, my life is a train wreck. How I need to be doing things differently so that I don't make the same mistakes. And actually, it was so valuable, because it made me realize, I'd always been really down on myself, and I wasn't good enough, and I wasn't this, and I wasn't that. And actually, when you tell yourself those stories,
Yeah.
that's what you see in your life and your reality. It doesn't matter that it's a load of rubbish, because
Yeah.
everybody's got unique gifts and talents, and loveliness to bring, and are lovable, and we're all unique expressions of life. And I've grown to really, really appreciate that. And I found, Tony's really at the top of his game, and it's not just airy fairy stuff. It's real. Okay, these are, understanding your beliefs and how they affect you, but very much involved with taking action, changing your
Yes.
behavioral patterns. And I know because
Yes.
you've been to his events. So I
Yes.
found that really, really valuable. And then to be around people on the same page with the same mindset, that wanted to
Yes.
create lives that they enjoyed, create a mindset about themselves where they appreciated themselves. So that's how I really started my businesses. All my businesses are about supporting people to not just become the best version of themselves, because that can sound like, the normal kind of goal setting, push, 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 but to actually
Yeah.
appreciate that we are unique expressions of life, and we have wonderful gifts and talents that are within us, that often they've got
Dumbed
really
down.
dumbed down, and they've got
Yeah.
buried under
Yeah.
different people's expectations, societal conditioning of, you're supposed to look like this, you're supposed to behave like this, you're supposed to do
Mm.
this, and it squashes all the uniqueness.
Mm.
And so what I do in my businesses is help people in various different ways, help people to recognize the behavior patterns that are not serving them, and
Mm.
replace them with behavior that will not only serve them better, so that they'll be more effective, but actually enjoy life more, and enjoy themselves more as a person, rather than
Yes.
constantly thinking, oh, why aren't I good enough, why aren't I this, why aren't I that, you know
Yes. And you're amazing at it, because
oh,
that's how
bless
we met when I was working for Sheer Sense,
you.
and you gave us some training, didn't you?
Yes,
You
I
did
did. Yeah, yeah.
Chimparella. I always remember Chimparella, the
Yeah.
Chimparella training.
Yeah, it's a little bit of I kind of bounced off, I can't remember his surname, but there's a book called The Chimp Paradox, and it's so brilliant, talking about, our conscious mind, our intellectual mind has all these great ideas of, oh yes, I'm going to do this today, it's the 1st of January, I've set all my resolutions, I'm going to lose 8 pounds, and and then you have something come along, and your inner chimperella, your unconscious mind, is like, where are those chocolate biscuits?
Yeah.
I'll only, and your conscious mind goes, I'll just have 1 or 2, and chimperella's like, I'm eating the whole packet, and then I'm going to the shop and getting another packet to eat,
Yeah.
So it's understanding what goes on in our unconscious mind and how to manage that effectively and kindly.
And that's so important, isn't it? Because I think that's definitely something I never understood, how the subconscious mind actually works. Until you dig into personal growth, you don't really understand that.
And the unconscious mind, not to kind of get off topic, but this I think is really valuable for people, particularly at the moment, if you're struggling and you're not really understanding why, that you're, okay, we're in a global pandemic, but and I've been challenged with this week, is, our unconscious mind is not built to make us happy. It's an old construct. It's built for our survival.
Yes.
So when we're in a scary time like this, it's kind of one of the first responses is just basically hunker down in your cave and don't do anything. Don't do anything. Don't put yourself out into danger. And it can, really make you feel a bit inert and a bit but it's the survival instincts. There's the 3 levels of survival, isn't there? Fight and flight, that are 2 that we talk about, but a lot of people are experiencing freeze. That's what that is. It's like, I don't know what to do, I don't know, it's all so unknown, I think I'll just kind of hunker down here.
Thank you for sharing that, because that's so valuable for people now, especially at this moment in time. So what's the reason for it? So you started on this personal development journey, you went and did a Tony Robbins event. You've obviously come away from that feeling really empowered. Why the business that you created? What was the reason for it?
As I say, really, I wanted people to understand that they have great gifts inside them. And okay, working in the corporate arena, you have to kind of address that in a way that's going to resonate with corporate values and things. But how I brought it in is helping people recognize behavior that comes up. And I love the DISC psychometric profile, because it's so simple. There's like 4 quadrants, and it just helps you with that. Identify the fact that people have different drives, have different ways of interacting, and it can be purely that's going to cause a disconnect with somebody else, not because they're trying to ruin your day, but because they have a totally different way of operating in the world. And that, for me, with all the training I've done all the years, that's one of the things that's so helpful for people, because they go, oh, okay,
I understand.
And now I can interact with my husband, my mother, my child, my colleagues better, and be more understanding. And ultimately, particularly around the work case scenario, you spend so much time at work that you want to make it a pleasant environment and be able to collaborate rather than
connect.
Yes, definitely. And we all know about the office dramas that have run on for years and years and years, and nobody's really addressed it effectively, and hope it's all going to go away, which of course it doesn't. It becomes a monster that grows many heads and then sometimes blow up. But I found it really rewarding to support clients to understand that that's all it is. It's not some great terrible personality defect or anything at all. It's just like, but we're not taught to communicate effectively. We're not taught to address what we know, that scary word, conflict. We'd all rather kind of, particularly being British, we'd rather run away and hide or ignore it or pretend it's not going to happen. But if you can master the art, this is my main focus at the moment, helping people to master the art of difficult conversations, but not just master the art, but to do it with poise and dignity for you and the other person. Oh my goodness, if you can communicate at that level,
amazing.
Wow, puts you in it's such a level of influence, whether you're a manager, whether you're a mum, whether you're hopefully going to start doing some work with some of the senior teams in school locally, because they want to help the older kids to support the younger kids.
Yeah.
And I think that could be so valuable, because
massively, yes.
younger people have so few filters, or much less filters and prejudices, and they're much more malleable. So you give them an idea and they'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They don't start looking at their history and thinking, well, 20 years ago I tried to be nice to that person and I got slammed, so I'm not doing it again. We get very self-protective, don't we, around conflict?
Yes. Yeah, love that. So when you decided to make a change in your career, because you were air stewardess, weren't you, for British Airways for many years?
That's right, yeah.
And when you decided, obviously you got to a point in your life and you were like, no, I'm done, I want to do something different. You actually made that decision. How did you go about did you make the decision and then the personal development came, or you learned about the personal development and you were like, right, that's it, I'm going to go and do this? And how did other people react to that?
Well, I'd been doing the personal development while I was still flying, and I loved the flying. And interestingly enough, when you're stuck on an aircraft with people from all different cultures and backgrounds and everything, that was my kind of first introduction into human psychology and the power of influence, because of course as cabin crew you are always the subordinate, and I've got these CEOs or movie stars or pop stars and stuff, and they're freaked out by flying, or they're just used to being super important and being able to do what they like, and all you've got are tools of influence and persuasion, and also relating to them and not thinking, well, this, excuse my language, this person's an asshole. They may not be an arsehole at all. They might be terrified of flying. You just don't know. So it's about probing deeper. So that was my first introduction to psychology. And I started doing some study in coaching psychoneurology. And then British Airways, who I was working for, offered voluntary redundancy. And I loved the job, loved the job. I mean, such a great education, a life education. But it had run its course for me, and I wanted to, I'd found so much value from the coaching that I'd had, that I wanted to share that with people. So, and also, there's been a theme that's run all the way through that Mastering the Art of Difficult Conversations. So I've done it, I've been doing it consciously and unconsciously for the last kind of 20 odd years. So,
So that's your why.
Yeah, that's my why. And then you asked me how people responded. So funny. I mean, the people thought I was as mad as a box of frogs. One of my best friends, who flew right up until the whole thing that happened just recently. I was living with her at the time as well. I was renting a room from her. And she thought, the way she phrases it is, she thought I'd fallen out of the bonkers tree and bashed my head on every single branch on the way down. I was sleeping like a baby at night, thinking, oh, I love this, I've got my purpose, I've got my vision, I'm going to do this. And she was lying awake, worried sick.
Oh, love her.
My mum, it's quite funny, some years later, because I was very much involved in Tony Robbins stuff, and I became part of the senior leader team, just because I'd found my community, people that, really wanted to create that great life, and, very much about contribution, blah, blah, blah. So I was part of that community. And my mum, bless her, she died last year, she was 92. A few years after I'd been doing all this stuff, said, oh, by the way, I've been speaking to your sister, and it's all right. Tony Robbins isn't a cult. And I was like, oh, thanks, Mum. No, I kind of worked that out myself. But I think it's that old phrase, and I don't mean it in any way judgmentally, but misery loves company. And when you start to change and stretch for bigger goals, sometimes the people around you are like, hang on a minute, because it kind of throws their life into, they have to look at their own life, and they may see things that they don't like about it, but might not have the same motivation to change. I've said a number of times, one of the biggest gifts of my life was to be in a fairly dysfunctional family, because I wanted, it made me explore different avenues and think about, no, do I want to see myself the way that my mum used to see, because she didn't have the greatest opinion of me. Do I want to see myself the way my mum sees me, or do I want to create my own identity? And so
I love that.
Change.
And it's a choice. We all have that choice, but like you say, sometimes that's a really scary choice to make, because it's
totally.
really unknown, and it feels very uncomfortable. So sometimes we just stay where we are just because that's what feels okay. We're not necessarily happy, but it just feels comfortable.
And if everybody around us is the same kind of level of unhappiness, then there isn't so much of the incentive to change. And as I say, when I broke up with my husband, I was living in France, and I was so isolated. So I had plenty of time to think about, okay, what do I want? What, and I was kind of like, how did I get myself into this situation? No disrespect to my ex-husband, but really, I mean, all the signs were there before I married him, and I still married him, and it was just like, okay. We were not a match at all. So when there's, he had some stuff in his life that he just did not want to deal with at all, and it made it very, very hard. And for a long time in the relationship, it was me constantly making all the effort to make it work, and then having to do damage limitation if we ever rarely went anywhere with my friends, because he didn't like to leave France, didn't like the UK. And then if he came anywhere with me, he would invariably play up after a X period of time. It was like being married to a teenage boy. And that was my world. And it wasn't until I'd gone away for a friend's birthday party and he wouldn't come, and I had to lie to her and not tell her that he just wouldn't come, that it kind of threw things into relief. And I was like, oh my God, this is craziness. What am I doing? And kind of tried to make it work. But I think that's something to really be aware of, that you can try as hard and put anything and all your best into something. It may be a relationship with a partner or a friend, but if they're not prepared to put in the same degree of effort, you're going to burn yourself out, and you're not going to, you have to sometimes understand people aren't on the same page as you, and to respect that. Well, and it's better for both of you.
So you spoke about change, and I suppose through this process and this personal growth that you're going through, you're changing. In what way are you different today, or do you feel that you're different today compared to where you were when you started?
Wow. I mean, I launched my business with a huge amount of enthusiasm and not a clue, and fell and scabbed my knees quite badly for the first little period. So why I'm very different from that, in that I'm being much more sensible around, okay, what do I have to offer? How am I going to offer that? Who is my market? So I've been much more businesslike, and worked around strategy, got really clear about now who I am and where I am. Something to say about that as well, though, as I said, my business has gone through a number of iterations, and I think it will, a business should, if it's to keep up with meeting the needs of your customers, particularly now during the pandemic, when the needs of people are totally different, really, from a lot of how things were traditionally, even just 18 months ago. But so from a business perspective, I'm much more strategic and more disciplined. Also, it's been wonderful for me from a personal development point of view, because it's really, really increased my self-belief and my self-confidence, and actually just my acceptance of myself, because I did make massive mistakes in the beginning, and I was so hard on myself, and then I just realized there were all kinds of bits of the puzzle that were missing, and things we've talked about, like I didn't have a community to support me, really. I hadn't planned, I hadn't researched, and we've said this a number of times, if do start your business, you know, or explore starting your own business, but do a bit of background research. Make sure you've got the support group, whether it's business support or friend support, because, you know, being an entrepreneur is very, very different from being an employee. You have to be motivated all the time, because no one else is going to do it for you.
Yeah, and the decisions come down to you, and sometimes you don't know what way to go. And actually, the majority of the time, you haven't got a bloody clue what way to go, have you? But it's a case of adopting that belief or the ability to go, well, I'm going to give it a try.
Totally.
If it doesn't quite work, I'll have to try something else. And you navigate your way.
And that's the thing, isn't it, as well, being very learning to be confident about that you're going to try something. And then if it doesn't work, being flexible enough to go, okay, right now I'm going to change and you know, tweak things without thinking, oh my God, I've made such a dreadful mistake, what a failure I am, how useless I am. It's not a case of that. It's not at all. You know, you have to keep trying things and fine tuning and tweaking.
Yeah, I did a video the other week, and I was talking about your beliefs. And one of the biggest beliefs, and I can't think, there was a guy that I follow on YouTube, love YouTube, but there's a guy that I follow, and he says, as long as you've got the belief that you can grow and get better, that's the belief that you have to adopt, because it's so true, isn't it? Whatever you try, if it doesn't work out, and the majority of things that, especially at the start, that you're going to try, you're not going to get the results that you want. But at least you know you can grow and you can learn from it and you can get better and you can improve on it.
Totally.
And that's going to move you forwards every single time.
Totally. And letting go of that need to be perfect as well. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a brilliant coach, and she's kind of pivoting at the moment, reinventing herself slightly. And she sent me a message yesterday and said, okay, so how about if I position myself as a personal and professional leadership coach? And I said to her, honey, you don't need all those words in there. Just put yourself as a leadership coach. And she's like, oh, but I remember what it was like when I was starting out. And oh my God, I mean, it seems a bit ridiculous now, but hey, it was an iteration. I started out because I'd done, you know, Tony Robbins' work, and he talks around masculine, feminine energy. And I'd started out as a female potential coach. What on earth does that mean to anybody else, you know? And it's going to immediately put people off. Feminine potential. And a friend of mine who was a marketer at the time said, it sounds like, you know, ladies' monthly products. I was like, oh my God. But, you know, sometimes we get so caught up on trying to get it all right. And you know, it's about finding the market that resonates with you as well, isn't it? And understanding that not everybody is your customer, and that's fine, because it means you can niche and then serve your tribe in a way that's really going to bring them value.
I love that. Yeah. So what would you say to anyone else wanting to start up a business? They want to change their career path. What advice would you give to them?
Go for it. Absolutely go for it. Even with all the times of very scabby knees and not much money in the bank, I wouldn't change a thing. You know, and as the business has got more successful, of course, you've got to keep going. We talk about this all the time, don't you? You've got to be consistent. You've got to be in it to win it. Don't just work on your business. Work on your business strategy and plan and growth, but do work on your own personal development, because if you don't, stuff will come along in your business all the time that will throw you a curveball. Do your research, make sure you've got good business advisors, good support group, whether it's, you know, there's some great, I mean, I'm a fan of, I've said this before, Enterprise Nation, because there's so much on their platform, which is for, you know, entrepreneurs, small businesses in the UK, so much on their platform that's free, really, really great advice, but real positive advice as well, supportive advice, all the different online meetup groups you can join. And don't expect what you start off with, don't expect that to be how it will. Allow it to evolve, as I said, from feminine potential coach to mediator, leadership development consultant is quite a journey, but it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Enjoy the journey as well, isn't it? We talked, didn't we, the other day about sometimes, you know, you get your goals for your business, and you're like, oh, okay, and you're rushing towards the goals, and I've got to be doing this, and I've got to be posting on social media, and I've got to do that, da 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 da, and you actually miss out some of the joys of the journey.
Definitely, massively. And I think I know I'm like that. I have my goal and I'm always racing, or just sort of racing to get there. But then it's like, where am I racing to get to? Because I know for me, and I'm setting goals all the time. It's part of what I do, because it just gives me clarity, and it gives me something to focus on. It gives me something to aim for. But then you get to that point, and then that goal just evolves and becomes a bigger goal, because you've reached that milestone, and then it becomes bigger. So it's like, you don't want to be in that place of chasing all the time.
No.
And sometimes it's good to just to sit back and reflect. Actually, I'm focused on the present. I'm focusing on what's happening at the moment, and I'm just enjoying it. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and the feedback I'm getting, and the message I'm trying to put out. And I think people notice that. People feel it.
Yeah, I think people know very quickly, I think, whether you're really interested in adding value and creating a community and creating something for the long game for them, or whether you're just kind of want to make a quick buck,
flash in the
from
pan.
them. And don't get me wrong, we all want to we want our business to be a business, not just a hobby. But some people do want it to be a hobby, and that's great too. But if you do want to make money out of it, then you've got to be wise about that too. But for me, it's very much about the blend, putting out really good value for people, meeting their needs, and charging for it, because I'm worth my fees, because I've put in a lot of time and energy and effort, and one of my things is to really over deliver for my clients. So
definitely,
it matters to me. The work I do matters to me. So that's why as well, you've got to make sure that you're aligned with the clients you work with.
Yes. And I think that comes if you're aligned with the offer, if you're aligned with the business that you're in and what you're offering, you're going to be aligned, with your clients as well, because it's part of what you believe to be the truth, isn't it?
Very much so. Yeah, I think so. And always, look, when you take the time to enjoy the journey, then you celebrate those successes, and then you focus more on, wow, that was really great, and that keeps you inspired and motivated to move forward, doesn't it? Rather than it becoming a real big chore and, oh, this is so much hard work, and got to enjoy it.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. And there was some fantastic insights in there. We'll be catching up again next week.
We will indeed, yes.
And have a lovely week.
You too, my darling.
Enjoy your week, and I will be catching up with you soon. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you later.
See you later. Bye.